Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey, welcome back to Fair Trade Bible Study. This is Daily Dose Radio, your home for organic, artisanal, fresh, seasonal, locally sourced, responsibly handled Fair Trade Bible Study. Are you ready for some Bible study? We need to have that theme song. You know, Monday Night Football has that, Are You Ready for Some Football? I guess it's Monday Night Football does that. And we need some Are You Ready for Some Bible Study? And I won't have Hank Williams Jr. write my song, though. This just is going to be a great week because we're going to treat Psalm 73. Now, you're going to look at Psalm 73 and you're going to say, hey, Pastor Dave, that's kind of long to do in 1 week. 28 verses. Usually I try to break that up, make it a little bit shorter. So we're going to take some big bites. For example, today we're going to do verses 1 through 6. But this psalm really needs to be treated, I think it needs to be treated within the week. Because the argument, we'll forget where we are, I think, if we don't. So if you start this today, make sure you listen to all 5 podcasts because we're going to do the entire 73rd Psalm this week. And this is a good one. This is probably one of my favorite Psalms just because it's so practical. It really speaks to the very thing that we experience yet today. The psalmist, in this case, it's Asaph. He comes at the problem of injustice and the problem of evil, and he gives us a really good way to look at things. And you can see how his focus changes from the very beginning of the psalm to the very end of the psalm. And really his conclusion, his solution for the problem of injustice and the problem of evil is obvious and it's wonderful. So we're going to go through these sections, or I have, of course, divided this up into 5 sections, one for each day of the week. And today we're going to see where the whole thing begins and notice the focus of the psalmist is not where it should be. So let's begin reading. I'll read for you. If you don't mind, I'll read verses 1 through 6, Psalm 73. Truly God is good to Israel, even to such as are of a clean heart. But as for me, my feet were almost gone. My steps had well nigh slipped. For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. For there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. Therefore pride compasseth them about as a chain. Violence covereth them as a garment. That's verses 1 through 6 in Psalm 73. Well, we begin with verse 1. Truly God is good to Israel, even to such as are of a clean heart. Now, notice the language there. He says God is good. And I'm just going to mark that in my Bible, or in my note here. God is good to Israel. That's important because if we get lost in our envy, we immediately begin to think that maybe God is not good. When we begin to see the evil in the world and we begin to see the problem of injustice in the world, we begin to think, well, maybe God's not really good. No, truly God is good. Whether men behave with a clean heart or whether they behave with a corrupt heart, it doesn't change that opening statement. God is good. Truly God is good to Israel, even to such as are of a clean heart. We begin in verse 2. Here comes the problem. But as for me, see, he immediately goes from the statement of truth, God is good, and now he says, but for me, my feet were almost gone, my steps had well nigh slipped, for I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. So the problem is pointed out to us very clearly. Verse 3 is the problem, and he says, I was envious. Now, let's not forget what the Bible teaches us about envy. Look at James chapter 3, verses 14 through 16. I'm going to read for you verse 16, for the sake of time. But I want you to go back and look at those 3 verses, 14, 15, and 16, in James chapter 3. Actually, you might want to include verse 17 in there as well. Verse 16 says, For where envying and strife is, there is confusion and every evil work. So he says, I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. So now he is inviting confusion into his life, and that confusion is going to color his view of things, because he says here in verses 4 and 5, here's what he saw about these people he calls the wicked. There are no bands in their death. Their strength is firm. They are not in trouble as other men. Neither are they plagued like other men. Therefore pride compasseth them about as a chain. Violence covereth them as a garment. So he's envious of the foolish. He sees the prosperity of the wicked. And he's looking for what God is doing, perhaps, but all he sees is their prosperity. He sees their strength. They're not plagued like other men. They're not in trouble as other men. Where is the justice of God in that? Therefore, pride compasses them like a chain. They're proud of their sinfulness and their wickedness. Violence is a covering for them like a garment. So he sees that, and he says, what's going on? Here, my feet have almost slipped, and they're slipping because I see the foolish. That means he's slipping off his foundation, and his foundation is in that very first statement, God is good. Well, if God is good, how come these people are getting away with it? See, that's the question that we ask, isn't it? Don't we ask that question? Oh, I know you do. I do. We all ask that question. How come I'm trying to live a life of righteousness and those people, see, I'm pointing my finger, those people, they're doing that. There's no bands in their death. Their strength is always firm. They're never in trouble. They're never plagued. And they're proud about it. And they're violent, and nothing seems to change. Okay, so that's the thing that he's envious of. He's envious of these foolish because they've got something that apparently he doesn't. Now, join me again tomorrow. We're going to take up 7 through 11, and we're going to conclude this problem section and pick up on their condition. So he's going to describe the condition of their heart. So I hope you'll join me then on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.